night I texted Susan and I asked her to please read that snippet about David and Goliath, because I found myself quite early in the week deciding, as a result of an article I had read, that I wanted to speak to you today about these 5 smooth stones. And as I was looking around at different things that spoke of these 5 smooth stones, of course, I found myself right in the story of David and Goliath. And it's a wonderful story, and it's a classic story, and it is a story of good winning out over evil, if you will. Evil, if you will. And although the passage that Susan read was absolutely beautiful, I would have liked you to back up even a little bit more and talk about how David was the brave being that he was when Goliath was challenging the armies of Israel, and no one would come forward to mess with this 9-foot monster. It was David who came forward and said, I'll do it, I'll do it. And yes, he did pick up the 5 smooth stones from different versions of the Bible have it from different places. Lamsa said from the gravel. Many other versions say from the stream. But the point was, and this is the most important thing I believe of the story, and it is loaded with metaphysical meanings. We could spend, and if I don't watch it, I might spend far too much time talking about the metaphysics of the story. But what the real clincher was, is that David, this young shepherd, knew that the battle was not his, it was the Lord's. He had unshakable belief in that one presence and one power working in and through him and the whole nation of Israel at that particular point. That was what it was. The Philistines were challenging that whole nation of Israel. And David stepped up with no hesitation at all. I'll take care of this. And he did. One smooth stone that he picked up out of the stream or the gravel. And people throughout the years have said, well, if he had so much faith that it was the Lord's battle and not his, why didn't he just take the one stone? Well, the kid was being prepared. How did he know he was going to get him in the head with the first stone? So anyway, but what I'm here to talk to you about is any challenge, any Goliath that may come up in our life, if we can find ourselves in that same space of having as much faith in that one presence and one power God moving in and through us, we can overcome any challenge. Just as David slew Goliath, so can we come up against any challenge that may show up in our life if we have that same amount of faith. And I'm going to talk about these 5 smooth stones as something that probably most of you here in this room right now already know about and have been working with for many, many years. It's our 5 basic unity principles. And I promise you that to the degree that we use these principles, we too can come up against any challenge in our life and come out the victor. Anybody ever have any challenges in their life? I do from time to time, and I'm glad to see that some of you do too. And oftentimes I know I will find myself, oh, woe is me, what to do? Well, if I remember that I call myself a truth student, and I have learned of these 5 basic unity principles, they really are my stones that I have to work with. And I know that each one of you, or most of you, that we have our visitor and some folks who haven't been around unity that long, and they may not even realize what our 5 basic principles are. Oh, and by the way, Rachel, one of the newest members in our church, has made up a wonderful sheet which she has outside for any and all of you to take with our 5 basic unity principles listed. You can take it home and put it on your wall if you're not familiar with them. And although her verbiage may just be a tad different than ways that we may have heard it, it is the same thing. So let me talk to you about stone number 1. The one presence and the one power. Everybody has to ask who that is. It is one presence and one power, God the good omnipotent. And when we put that first in our life, and when we trust that one presence and one power moving in and through us, we, just like David, can bring down whatever challenge is in our life with our first stone. So what is it that we have to, we say it practically we do say it every week when we come together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotent. And we say it, and we probably even mean it when we're here in church with like-minded people and we're saying it. But the real work, the wonderful opportunity that it presents to us comes when we take that belief out into our life and actually allow it to be what gives us the strength to meet whatever challenge there may be in our life. Now that's very basic. It's very basic, and I have to ask you though, does it make sense to you? A lot of times we say these things that make perfect sense to some people and do not to us. Do you believe that one presence and one power, God the good, is ever active in your life? Now this is a rhetorical question, so nobody has to answer me, but you need, I believe, it would do you well to answer yourself. Do I really believe this? Can I trust this? Can I have complete faith in this one presence and one power? Charles Fillmore loved the word overcome, to overcome, to come up over this challenge. And if our answer to ourselves is, well, you know, I probably have a little more work to do, or to spend some time with just how that shows up in my life. But if we take the time, and if we have that unshakable faith in that one presence and one power in our life, just like David, we can take over that challenge, we can heal that challenge with this very first stone. One presence, one power, God the good. Could we say that? One presence, one power, God the good. Could we say, I am willing to trust.
I am willing to trust
That one presence, and one power, God the good.
God the good. Amen.
Thank you. So there we have our first smooth stone. we're going to take it into battle with us, if we choose to call it a battle. Our second stone is for our Christ identity. Identity as the Christ, the beloved child of God. Our nature and God's nature are the same, since we are expressions of God. Now, I know a lot of people over the years, and I've been doing this for quite a number of years now, have attended Unity Church just because it's a feel-good church. They leave here happy, and they don't really care much about the basics or incorporating those basics into their life. But this second stone, this idea, this knowing that we have of this Christ identity, of us being expressions of God, is a very strong tool that we have to work with. It was the Apostle Paul who wrote about this one presence and one power. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. But what that means is once we incorporate that truth of being beautiful, wonderful, beloved child of God into our core beliefs, that's when it works in our life. That's when we can come up against any difficulty in life, any challenge in life, and draw on that strength of that one presence and one power. I've got an affirmation I'd like to share with you. It's kind of long, got a couple commas, but here we go. When from my humanness I feel powerless and defeated, I can remember my divinity, my God-given Christ nature. If I break it up in pieces, will you say it with me? Because it's the truth. When from my humanness I feel powerless and defeated, I can remember my divinity, my God-given Christ nature. Makes you want to sit up a little taller in your chair, doesn't it? Beloved child of God, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Want to say it one more time? The affirmation? I know you do. When from my humanness I feel powerless and defeated, I can remember my divinity, my God-given Christ nature. And what a perfect opportunity this is to turn to your neighbor and say, I behold the Christ in you. See? Poor David Isaac has no one to look at. I behold the Christ in you. Okay, gang. Okay, come back. We've got a couple more stones to go through here. Smooth stone number 3 is the power of thought. Remember, we're talking about our 5 basic unity principles. And what is it that we believe in unity about the thoughts that we entertain? The thoughts that go around and around in our mind. Are they powerful? Yes, of course they're powerful. And what are they doing as we are entertaining them? They are creating our reality. They're creating our reality. So if there's something going on in our life that we're not all that happy with, guess what we get to change? That's right. We get to change our thinking. So, an affirmation for that would be, through practice with this third stone, we come over to the understanding that we our Lord's, small l, of our life. Through the power of our thinking, the power of our spoken word, we actually create our own reality. We can say it 1,000 times, but unless we believe it and once again incorporate that into our being, they're just words. So I'm going to give you some words. Through practice with this third stone, we come over, that means we rise above any challenge, to the understanding that we are lords of our life. Oh, I need to break that down. Through practice with this third stone, we come over, to the understanding, that we are lords of our life. Thank you. Someone did it the same as me. They said, we. You did such a good job. I'm going to do it again. Through practice with this third stone, we come over, overcome, to the understanding that we are lords of our life. No one else can ever change our thoughts, our way of thinking. Only we can do that. Only we can do that, and we can only do that because of why? This very first stone, our deep belief in the one presence and one power in us. And through the second stone, the divinity, the truth about who it is we are. The fourth stone that I'm going to talk to you about is affirmative prayer. How many of you love working with affirmations and denials? They're very, very powerful. And if you don't really understand about affirmations and denials, there is a wealth of stuff out in that library. Any book pretty much that you pick up that's a Unity book is going to explain to you about affirmative prayer. And what is affirmative prayer? Very simply put, it is really giving thanks in advance, knowing that all the good that we could possibly want in and for our life is already in our midst. In affirmative prayer, we are thanking God, thanking Spirit, thanking the universe that we now realize that everything, anything we could possibly want or need is already there for us. So then our fourth smooth stone is affirmative prayer, the prayer that knows the truth. Once again, it goes back to what it is we believe. How are we allowing that belief in that one presence and one power to work in our life? Do we believe that we're just making up words and speaking into the wind? No. We're speaking words of truth, and we are incorporating them into our bodies. So, oh my goodness, I didn't do a statement for the affirmative prayer. Wait a minute, give me that. Okay. Through my use of affirmative prayer, I remember the truth. There is only God. There is only good. And that's enough for me. And by gummy, because I could never remember those words that I just spoke, I hope you wrote them down and you just pulled them right into your being and remember every one of them. Affirmative prayer is the fourth stone that we have to work with. Release through denial those things that have shown up in our life that no longer serve us, or those false beliefs that would tell us we could not do anything new. Rather, we affirm the truth. Why is it easy for us to affirm the truth? Because of who and whose we are. Smooth stone number 5. Live the truth we know. When we hear words of truth, when we come together on Sunday or on Wednesdays, or anytime we come together and we share this idea of truth, it's then ours to incorporate into our being and live in our life. As we use this fifth stone more and more, once again, we come over, or we overcome, to a renewed awareness of our God-given dominion. Remember, way back in Genesis, God gave us dominion. Right after he said that everything was good. And then he gave us dominion. These techniques, these 5 basic unity principles, are there for us to use. Speaking for myself, I'm going to bother to use them. And because I've heard these words, and because I've been reminded of truth, I'm going to be willing to look anew at these very simple principles, to incorporate them more fully into my life. And I would hope that perhaps you'll choose to do the same. And so it is.